a full view of the ledger, what has been captured in the system. That's why we would find that there are some challenges like missing payments, missing returns. That's because the taxpayer was not able to see what was captured in the legacy system. Early this year, that is 2024, as you all aware about the tax amnesty which has been in place from running from last year, which was introduced by Finance Act 2023, which was giving taxpayers amnesty for periods up to December 2022 going back. There was a mass migration of legacy system transactions to iTax system. And one of the key things which really fastened this migration of legacy system balances to iTax is because KRA wanted to have to onboard all taxpayers and make them benefit from tax amnesty. And the easiest way was to let's have one system in place and give taxpayers amnesty for those who meet the conditions were in place for the amnesty. And the conditions were: first, taxpayer was to clear the principal taxes for periods, any periods prior to December 2022. And for these ones, you clear the principal taxes, you would benefit from the tax amnesty. So, due to that, KRA started the journey of migrating these balances. And also note that when KRA migrated from legacy to iTax, legacy system was not totally shut. There were a team at Wilson Airport called CDO, which used to handle case by case scenarios. A taxpayer would walk in, a taxpayer would go to a tax station and maybe say, for this period, my return is not captured or my payment is not captured, and it will be actioned upon. So note that the legacy system was not totally shut even after migration of iTax. But from early this year, KRA started looking ways of how they can migrate all these balances, all these data to the iTax so that they can deal with one system. So for taxpayers who had previously paid for the penalties and who had paid for the principal taxes, during the migration, they got full amnesty. The penalties and the interest were removed or they were vacated. But also, during migration, if a taxpayer would pay, he would also would benefit from the amnesty provision. So during migration, what did KRA look at? Because there are some procedures or there are some processes which were put in place, and for them to make sure that they did not migrate something which was erroneous or something which was not correct. So there were first they had to prepare a platform where the migrated balances, where the migrated data will be posted in iTax ledger account. And this preparation entailed gathering data from different sources. And this was a request which was done by ICT. They requested data from refunds, different sources, and they had to clean this data to make sure that what they post in the iTax for taxpayer is authentic, depending on the information in each of KRA. There are also posting of all unposted payments. As we have said earlier, that during legacy system, a taxpayer would make a payment and they'll bring that payment to KRA offices for capturing. So that means that if taxpayer makes a payment and fails to bring to the KRA offices, of course there will be no capturing of that payment. So during the migration process, because there are some payments which were taken to finance and finance confirmed that these payments were done and they were made and they are reflecting to our system. So these payments, they were factored in during migration. So during the migration process, these payments were posted, and is the one we're calling iTax hanging payments. So these unposted payments entail both in ITMS, as we have seen in a while ago, it's a system which was in place before, iTax hanging payments and other manual payments. Other manual payments would be payments like I make a payment direct to central bank, and these payments will never reflect because it's not linked to KRA. So all these payments were factored in, which were confirmed by finance. There was also cleaning of the now complete ledger. These are our unconfirmed assessments. These unconfirmed assessments these are assessments which would be done from stations or TSOs, and they were raised in iTax. For this, they yet to confirm where was these assessments raised. Were they raised erroneously, or was taxpayer paid for these assessments? There are also excess waivers. In legacy or in HMS, KRA the team which were doing migration would confirm at there any period where taxpayer were granted excess waiver than the penalties and the interest. There are also payments without return. In the ledger, for some taxpayers would find that these are payments without a return. And in real sense, you can't make a payment for maybe, I can't just make an abrupt payment, meaning that you are not paying for anything. So the team would also confirm this payment, is it corresponding to any return? If not, no. If there's no return, they will reverse that payment, or they will counter check which return was meant in relation to that payment. There was also posting refunds payment paid, because these things were manual then in legacy. A taxpayer would apply for a refund, and the refund will be processed. But because it's manual, once a refund is processed and approved, for one reason or another, it might be not be updated in legacy system. And for that, when you look at the legacy system, you'll not be able to tell whether this payment was paid, approved, or not. So that's why I've started saying that it is started by gathering information or data from different sources. And one of these sources I've said is the refunds. You get to know which taxpayer was paid in this period, which taxpayer was not paid, or that kind. It helped in migration of these balances. They're also granting taxpayers who had paid all principal taxes. That is granting the amnesty, as I've said. For taxpayer in this manner who had principal taxes and cleared before, during migration, the penalties and the interest would be vacated, because one of the requirements was that for the amnesty was that a taxpayer would clear the principal taxes for any period, and that will benefit from the tax amnesty. But those for periods prior to December 2022 going back. Remember that for the amnesty was it was so open that for December going backwards up to 1992, it did not give a limit of when the amnesty should go. There are also some rules which are applied. You'd compare credits claimed in first return with those in legacy. When we talk of first return, is that you find that we've said in 2015 is when iTax became mandatory. So you'll find that a taxpayer may be paid installment tax in legacy in 2015, or is paid installment tax in iTax. But that was 2014. But for one reason or another, coming doing the annual return, you'll find that no, the iTax system, it's not going maybe to be that effective, or we're not sure of the uncertainty. So let's just do the returns the normal way we are used to. That's doing in the legacy. So we'll find that a taxpayer paid installment tax in iTax, but made the returns in legacy. So that's are the facts, some of the things which are factored, and what is we are calling first return. Yeah. There are also credits which are carried in iTax and manually reconcile payments and the returns both in both systems. There are returns you'll find there are taxpayer audit return both in legacy and both in iTax. So this factored where these cases, these scenarios were factored in during migration. Then after all that, the final migration to iTax legacy was done, and the amnesty granted for taxpayers who had no principal tax. Now after migration, what do we envision, or what are we going to do? As I've said, the legacy system was semi automated, meaning that there are some cases which would be captured in legacy system and others which will not be captured. So there's review and confirmation of the migrated balances in conjunction with the taxpayers. And if you are keen enough, there is a public notice which went out I think early August or late July, informing taxpayers the general public that of the migrated ledger balances, and giving them a leeway or time up to that 1st December 2024 to confirm of the migrated legacy balances. And if there is any query, our direction or to raise those queries. So what we're saying is that there's room for confirmation of those migrated balances. If there's a missing return or there's a missing payment, or you are not sure of how the balance which was posted in iTax, you are not sure of the balance, you are allowed to walk into any tax service station, that is TSO AMA station. They'll be able to print it for the ledger, and they'll be able to interpret or analyze with the ledger. And from that, you'll be able to know whether it's a missing payment maybe for 2009, whether it's a missing payment for 2010. And from that, you'll be able to provide the document capturing of that return or payment. And the details will be updated in iTax. There's also sharing of balance validation guidelines with taxpayer. These are the guidelines which will be used to validate those are migrated balances for those cases which you are not agreement with. So there are those guidelines. There's also cancellation of iTax prior balances. These are balances which I've talked about, which were raised in legacy system. And even in case these balances after migration of ledger balances, if these balances do not tally with what taxpayer was paying for, there's need for cancellation of that. There's pay data validation and the migration, that is the reconciliation. After what was migrated was income tax and the VAT. Pay as you want, data was not migrated, but that is now the next phase which KRA intends to take. Now they intend to migrate pay data to iTax. There's income tax validation of refunds. There's also legacy refunds. These are said, these are refunds which were paid off and maybe were not affected in legacy system. There's a computation of penalty and the interest for taxpayers. Taxpayers maybe who did not benefit from the amnesty because of the principal tax was not cleared. And also now there's a development of workflow to allow the required ledger adjustments. This ledger adjustment is what we are saying. We're talking about. If what was migrated is not, you are not in agreement with, and maybe you find out that there was a missing payment which was not captured. This is now the workflow which will be used to make the adjustment. And in the next presentation, we are going to see if you are in LTO, PSD, MTO, or you are in another, you are in TSO like place like Isiolo, how are you going to escalate your case for the adjustment to happen? Okay, we'll proceed. There's a revalidation of migrated legacy balances. These are there are payments not captured, as you've seen. Taxpayer made a payment, but this payment was not captured in iTax or was not captured in legacy system. These payments need to be you need to bring the payments and for capturing, and you'll be guided how to escalate your case. There are payments captured late. This is late receipting. Of course, even in iTax, if you do a payment late, there'll be interest and the penalties. These are return amendment, uncaptured loss, uncaptured return, or data correction. If you did a return amendment and all this was not captured during capturing, they led to wrong interest and the penalties, or the return or the loss was not captured during. These are the areas which will lead to revalidations. These are self-assessment returns captured erroneously, as I've said. Taxpayer would do a return and they'll bring it to KRA for capturing. But for one way or another, the officer who doing capturing, that's a wrong entry. That, of course, will lead to erroneous capturing. So if what was migrated is not in line with your books, you just need to bring forward. We see where the issue is and addressed in the right way through that workflow. There's migrated income tax credits resulting from installments and balance of payments. where there was a late filing penalty of 10,000 on nil return. There's also self-assessment return filed on legacy and payment on iTax. Credit return captured as payment return. There's a wrong accounting period. Because in iTax at the moment, if your accounting period is December and you try to file the return in between past June, of course the system will auto tell you that it will auto inform you that you are not able to file the return at the moment because of accounting period. But remember, in legacy, the system was was not that enhanced such that it would detect some things like accounting period. So if a taxpayer meant a return and not in line with the accounting period, of course, it led to some penalties and interest. So that's we are saying for revalidation of migrated balances, the areas is we're going to look at which will lead to revalidation. We have wrong accounting periods. We have wrong tax rates like EPZ for companies listed in EPZ. I think they trade at 25%, but corporate no more less than 30%. For if you did a wrong computation due to wrong tax rates, these are areas which can lead to the adjustment. Loss not carried forward within legacy period. If there was no loss which was carried forward, we have objection decisions implemented but additional assessment disallowed. We find that if there's an additional assessment which was raised, but you objected to that assessment, and it was later it was just in your favor, meaning that KRA lost the case. And this objection decision was not implemented because it was once it was ruled, it's supposed to be it was implemented in the system according to their rulings. But this was not. Someone is saying that I'm not audible because I'm not sure whether the challenge is from my side or KRA TV. Yes, someone is saying
Je,
I'm
wajua
audible.
kwamba
So I
iwapo
think the
unayo
problem would be the connection from your side. Kindly check, kindly check. So if the objection decision was not implemented in the system, you find that what was migrated is what was in the legacy system. So there is need now for validation so that the correct decisions which was made can be implemented in the system, and through that the true reflections will be in the system. Thank you, Charles. We have uncaptured legacy system withholding credits. These are withholding credits. If they are uncaptured, after validation and getting your ledger, you'll be able to know. There's also have refund setups, VAT refunds paid and not posted in legacy. As I've said, taxpayer in legacy would apply for a refund, processed and up and get paid. But if the same is not updated in legacy, the system will not show whether this claim or this refund was paid. Meaning that even once it's migrated in legacy in iTax, if the balance was transferred to the iTax, you can also apply for a refund again. But these are areas which will need to revalidate before. If a taxpayer applies for a refund from the balances which have been migrated from legacy, we need to revalidate so that KRA will not pay a refund which was paid earlier. There are also other cases where a refund was applied and not processed in legacy. It was applied and processed off the legacy system. Then credits migrated for the period of the legacy amnesty 201 to 204. So there's a post-migration taxpayer support framework. That is the structure. And these balances or these adjustments are now available. And a taxpayer is supposed to provide a document which feels that they were not available or which were not factored in the previous system, or the data which was in the legacy system did not address some of the gaps which led to uh, which led to migration of what was migrated in the iTax system. And for LTO, MTO, and PSD taxpayers, um, will be supported within their TSOs. So if a taxpayer is from LTO, it needs to go to LTO, and I'm sure you know your account manager, and he'll be supported step step one to the last step, including ledger adjustments and capturing of the uncaptured payments or returns. That's for LTO, MTO, and PSD taxpayers. But taxpayers who are within Nairobi, that is, we have Samia, what we call east and south of Nairobi, north of Nairobi, west of Nairobi. There's a centralized team at Jikwa Towers. That is a building called Jikwa Towers. Uh, and this team will be fast tracking of the resolution, and they are the one which will be updating your cases. On this, when I say there's a centralized team, it doesn't mean you need to come at Jikwa Towers. If maybe you are from west of Nairobi or north of Nairobi, you can also get in touch with your account manager, and they'll escalate the case to the centralized team and keep updating you of the progress of your case or your matter. So for TSOs which are outside Nairobi region, their case will be handled in terms of supporting taxpayers to review their ledger balances, identifying any gaps, and forwarding supporting documents to the centralized team. So you'll find that the centralized team will also handle cases from other TSOs, but because there's no need of telling a taxpayer to travel all the way from, let's say, Nakuru, such Jekwa Towers. So you just need to walk into your TSO. They'll maybe analyze the ledger together with you and tell maybe to get to identify and know that there's a missing payment, there's a missing return, and you'll be requested to provide the documents. And from that, they'll escalate the documents to the centralized team at Jekwa Towers. All missing payments will be captured the normal way. That is, there's an office taxpayer account management unit, the taxpayer account unit, which is in Tamsawa, which normally validates payments through finance division to enhance required control. So the normal missing payments will be done or validated by the taxpayer account unit, which is in Times Tower. And for this, you just need to go to your TSO. They'll escalate the documents for you to Times Tower, and capturing will be done. So for taxpayers, as we are talking of migration balances, not all taxpayers or not all migration which was done migrated with a liability. There are taxpayers who got credit. And we're saying that this credit will be available for utilization by taxpayers as per Section 47 of the TPA 2015. And this TPA, these are section rules that a taxpayer needs to request for utilization of those credits. So if a taxpayer, what was migrated as a credit, he first need to request utilization of that credit, but again, not that this credit also, as we have seen, needs to be revalidated for utilization. So taxpayers without any concerns on their debit balances migrated are expected to make arrangement to pay the outstanding taxes to avoid accruing interest. If you have end dates, debits is what was migrated in the iTax, and it's true, it's in line with your books, you are required or you are being requested to go forward and make a payment for the same. So for uncaptured or missing payments, or settles, in legacy or captured late, the taxpayer should support their claim or position through the following document for reconciliation. These are the normal documents which are used for reconciliation. That's you need to do a reconciliation request. There's also a payment registration number slips, which can also be generated from your end or from TSO, that is station, and also a letter from the remitting bank. So if you made a remittance and you are not able to trace the bank slips and all that, you can also ask for bank advice with the bank. For cases of return amendment, where taxpayers are return amendment, there are copies. You are required to do You are required to bring copies of returns, return copies and acknowledgement, copies of tax computations, and copies of certified audited financial statements. In case of you have withholding certificates and schedules, if any, where payments were locked due to missing, a copy of the original return will be needed for capturing. We have also migrated balances upon verification will be adjusted through migration workflow. These are just normal updates where you are being asked that you need to that the balances which were migrated, there was a communication sent through the emails and also of the public notice, which was notifying taxpayers that the migrated debit balance is not an assessment and it is not a demand, but it is subject to objection or appeal. Meaning that if you as a taxpayer you are not comfortable with what was migrated, you need to come, sit down, analyze the ledger, see where the problem is, what was not captured. And taxpayers are given up to 31st December 2024 with public notice to fully reconcile the balances through for resolution of any concerns on migrated debit balances with KRA. So if you want to check, you want to look at your what was migrated, if you go to you log into iTax portal and go to data and enforcement menu, you'll be able to download the statement for the migrated balances. So again, the balances are subject to adjustment based on availability of additional information or documents not previously factored in while arriving at the final balance. And something else to note is that you're eligible for TCF or tax compliance certificate, um, um, meaning that will not be denied within the reconciliation period due to legacy dates. And the period we are saying is up to 31st December 2024 as per the public notice. For taxpayers with the refunds, as per section 47, you are requested to make a request for utilization of those credits. So I've come to the end of my presentation and thank you. So maybe we can go to the reactions and see the questions maybe you could be having. So if I go to the charts, there are a lot. Let me check what is in the charts. Sorry, majority of you saying that we are not audible enough. Yeah. So how do we get the legacy tax ledger cards? I want to believe that you were asking how can we get a legacy statement? If you log into your iTax system and go to data and enforcement menu, you'll be able to see the migrated legacy balances and you are able to download the statement. So that's I think what that's what we meant by tax ledger cards. Someone please repeat the website to check migrated balances. It's you log into iTax portal. Once you log into iTax portal, you'll go to data and enforcement menu. You'll go migrated ledger balances. You'll see something like legacy. You'll be able to click and you're able to download the statement. Please repeat the last slide of the email address. The last slide of the email address. Which slide is that? Okay. Yeah, the one we are saying that for end support, you don't need, you can also scan the documents or send an email to the DTD legacy support at kra.go.ke. This email is being handled by the centralized team we talked about, which is in at Jikwa Towers. DTD legacy support at kra.go.ke. So so this email I've posted here, so email to so that email, you can send an email, there's also a reply. You can also send the documents for um, documents for validation, and it will be acted upon. If we have original payment slips stamped by the bank, do we still need to get a letter from the bank? On this, I will advise you get a final word from your account manager or your TSO, because for one reason or another, the TSO would insist that they need a letter from the bank, because maybe the documents are not legible, or they need more confirmation from the bank. But if the payment slips are stamped and they are clear enough, I think that would serve as an evidence. But you also need to get the final word from your TSO. I repeat the last slide, please. Which slide is that? The last slide, we are talking about the email for escalation of those documents, or the email being used by a centralized team, and they are posted in the chat box. We also talked about if full reconciliation has been done, and you find that still you are in debit position or you have liabilities to pay, it's your mandate as a taxpayer which you are supposed to organize and make payments for the balances, and also for taxpayers with refunds. We're seeing as per section 47 of the TPA allows or requires that a taxpayer makes a request for utilization of their credits, and the credits you've said once you make a request to utilize, they'll be revalidated before they are availed to you. Also, we've talked about you will not be denied a TCC, that's a tax compliance certificate, within the reconciliation period due to legacy debt. If which was migrated in your ledger is a debit, where are their liabilities? As per now, you are supposed to get a TCC. That liability is not should not inhibit you from getting a TCC. That's what we have said in the last slide. In case I have more payments on credit than on debit side, what would I do for it to balance? Remember what was migrated, it was per period. So you'll find that in case I have more payment on credit than on debit side, what should I do for it to balance? Meaning that you have overpayments. If you have overpayments, you can request for utilization of those overpayments, what we call settle. But you need to be clear that are they in the iTax, or they are what way was it? Or is it part of what was migrated? Because if it's in iTax, it's very easy. Just log in, you go to refunds and request for settle, and the system will do it automatically. Yes. Please.
Hi, Paul.
Hi.
Sorry for interrupting. This is
Yes.
Beatrice from Tax Education.
Yes, Beatrice.
Sauti yako iko chini kidogo, unaweza ongeza tafadhali?
Okay. Right now?
Yeah, it's okay now. Thank you.
It's okay.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Sorry for that.
Thank you.
Sorry for that. So I was saying, someone is asking, in case I have more payments on credit, then that's what I've said. From what basically you are saying, you have an overpayment in some periods, and what I'm advising is that if you go to iTax portal and you log in, there's a that side of set off under refunds. You are able to set off if you have overpayments, and they'll be utilized to pay some periods which you have debits. And that's what I've said. Also, I need clarity to know, are these overpayments in the iTax system, or they are part of what was migrated in the legacy? Because if it's part of what was migrated in the legacy, remember for credits, we've said you have to request for utilization, and also there'll be also revalidation, but the end game, you'll be able to utilize the credits. Let's take us through the credit balance utilization process required. Now, process required, so process required credit balances. Um, it's normally done, but it's currently done by the compliance team. But what's supposed to do is you're supposed to go to your TSO and make a request of utilization of the credit balance. Their guidelines, the guidelines are out and they are approved, and they'll be able to revalidate and maybe request one of the two documents which I might not be aware of, because this will be a case by case. So the guidelines, as much as the guidelines are out, they'll need to analyze your ledger or your transactions for the periods, and from that they'll be maybe to request you if there are additional documents and all that. But the bottom line, you're supposed to make a request through your station or TSO, through your account manager, and the validation timelines, they'll be able to advise you. The balances are netted off. I need the detailed ledger for me to determine where the gaps are, whether the gaps are, whether the gaps are. So if you need a detailed ledger, you can visit your TSO. They'll be able to print it for you, and I'm sure it's comprehensive enough for you to understand each transaction or each period. So just visit your TSO or your account manager. They'll be able to print it for you. Another question is that it says that I have no migrated legacy balance for the selected tax obligation. Um, I tend to intend that you ask that you have no migrated legacy balances. So the question is, when did you start uh, when did you use the legacy system? Because now, if you are not you are not present during legacy migration, meaning there is nothing to be migrated. Because the taxpayers who were their balances were migrated to iTax are those taxpayers who were there during the legacy system, and they used the legacy system, and they have transaction in the legacy system. And again, we've said what was migrated was VAT and income tax, meaning that if you have to pay and you pay in legacy system, that already has not been migrated. So it's something which you need to get in touch with your account manager and maybe confirm for you. If maybe you started your transactions, I mean, you open your company maybe between, or your PIN, you register your PIN in iTax, it means that you have no transactions in legacy system. Where can we get the notes of what you have taken us through? I'll share the notes. Another question is that it says that I have no, okay, I think I've answered that. If correction of financial year ends has wrongly been captured by KRA, resulting in wrong taxes, wrong captured, the request to align the same is not being done by KRA despite emails sent by the taxpayers. What should the taxpayer do? If correction of financial year ends has wrongly been captured by KRA, resulting in, so are these, is the accounting period wrong captured in iTax system or legacy system? Because that's something which you need clarity. And again, are you which emails are you talking to your account manager or your station? Because I'll advise you start from your account manager. They do the corrections, and from that you'll be assisted. If there's a wrong captured, someone, I don't know my account manager. Your account manager, you just need to go, but I'm sure you know your tax station, that is TSO or station. You need to get in touch with your station, or just you call the KRA number, and they'll be able to to advise you who is your account manager. Account manager is the officer who is handling your PIN. So someone is saying that I was not here at the beginning. Would you kindly give me an overview of this training in just 1 minute? Basically, what we are looking at, Bernard, is the migrated ledger balances, which were migrated from legacy system, ITMS system, iTax system. And basically, what we are saying is that this migration, some of these balances are not new. These are not new assessments, or they are not demands, but this is what was migrated, what was in the systems, and they were migrated to iTax so that KRA can have just one system. And the reason behind this migration, or which attributed to the migration, is because of the amnesty, which was giving taxpayers a room to get an amnesty for the penalties and the interests. So KRA saw a need to have all these brought on board through iTax, and for taxpayers who had no principal taxes, they benefit from for this amnesty period. Can the account manager amend the legacy periods based on additional information? Yes. If you escalate your documents to your account manager, it will be escalated to the team which is handling all this. So if you get in touch with your account manager, he'll escalate the documents to the relevant team. Or again, the email I've given in the chat box, you can escalate the documents through that email. They'll respond to you and they'll do the adjustments. How can I get the notes? The notes will be shared. Would the tax ledger balance be the same as tax losses in audited accounts that are carried forward? Would the tax ledger balance be the same as tax losses in audited? In which system are you referring to? Because it should be the same. Because remember, when you are doing your iTax return, it should have a true reflection of the audited or financial accounts. So it should reflect. How do I check my statements migrated? We've said you log into your iTax portal or profile, and you go to debt enforcement menu, and you'll see legacy balances, and you'll be able to download the statement. Does legacy system differ much from iTax systems? The difference is legacy system is the system which was used before iTax was brought in place, and this system was semi-automated, meaning that some transaction would be captured online. Taxpayer would have a copy of return manually, and taxpayer did not have a full view of the transaction or the return or the ledger. So the system, yeah, is the same for KRA, but the legacy was way before 2015. That's when the legacy system is to be in place. Then iTax system in place, which is more improved, more automated, and more enhanced than legacy system. Thank you. Our meeting was to end at noon, and I see it's 3 minutes to noon. I would invite someone from marketing maybe to conclude and before we end the meeting. Thank you very much for your time. I'll share the notes with marketing, and they'll share it with you. Someone, Lucy, for credit balance, their deadline? No, there are no deadlines for credit balances. Only that you need to make a request, then they'll be revalidated. Thank you, Alan. Thank you so much. Someone from marketing, please. Okay, thank you, Chim. It seems there's no one from marketing. So thank you for your time. The email, take note of the email. You can escalate the documents. You can ask questions. And again, you can also use my email, which is paul.mbithy@kra.go.ke. That's also my email, paul.mbithy@kra.go.ke, and we'll do the necessary. Yes, for the now, if you want the notes, maybe you can please put your emails in this chat box so that I can share the notes. you can put your email through this chat box so that I can share the notes immediately after this. And thank you guys for your time.
Je, wajua kwamba iwapo unayo KRA PIN ina maana kuwa unayo akaunti ya iTax? Akaunti hii inakupa uwezo wa kufile returns, kupata tax compliance certificate, kubadili password ya akaunti yako pamoja na nambari yako ya simu na email address. Katika video hii tutakuonyesha namna ya kubadilisha nambari yako ya simu pamoja na email yako ili iweze kuwa rahisi kupata ujumbe kutoka KRA. Katika browser uipendayo, andika www.kra.itax.go.ke, weka KRA PIN yako na kufuatia na password. Kisha usisahau kujibu swali la hisabati lifuatalo. Baada ya kufaulu kuingia katika portal yako, utaona baadhi ya huduma ambazo unaweza kujisaidia kibinafsi. Bonyeza menu iliyosajiliwa kama registration, kisha ufuate na amend PIN details. Na katika swali la mode of amendment, utachagua mfumo wa online au online form, na ukurasa ulio na sehemu 5 utajifungua. Katika sehemu ya amendment form, utaweka alama ya tiki mahala palipoandikwa PIN, kisha utachagua basic information. Hapa sasa, unao uwezo wa kubadilisha nambari yako ya simu na email address. Kufanya mabadiliko hayo, shuka chini hadi mahala palipoandikwa principal contact details. Weka email sawia palipoandikwa main email address, kisha andika namba ya simu uipendayo palipoandikwa mobile number 1. Alafu wasilisha au submit mabadiliko hayo. Hakikisha email na nambari ya simu uliyoisajili ni zile ambazo unazitumia ili kupata ujumbe kamili na hakika kutoka KRA.